be able to get a good answer from here. Courage. Thank you very much, Dan. The most important thing, if you don't have courage and you don't have faith, you're not going to be a risk taker, are you? Because you're going to sit back and say, whoa, baby, I could fail. And I've seen a lot of cases where people took risks, they failed, and they were like, okay, you're gone. They're changing the culture of GE because they recognize that is not the way to run a business and succeed in today's environment. So Jeff at GE, he's a CEO, if you don't know. He's saying risk-taking, very important. Courage, very important. If you don't have courage, you're not going to be a risk taker. You're not going to have what GE wants. Sophisticated marketing. It's very important. Not just marketing, but sophisticated marketing. So, an example of sophisticated marketing, I'll just pull it from my past. I led a team and won the Corporate Award for Excellence, and we had about but because I was on the team, not because of that was my great idea, but we kind of developed it with the engineers and the finance people and the accounting people and the marketing people all got together. I was in pricing at that time, had multi-disciplines, and we got together and says, what can we do about the inherent unreliability of copiers and printers? Small devices at that time, not large ones. Can we market it different? Can we market a different technology? So the engineers actually designed at that time a customer replaceable unit. A customer replaceable unit includes all the most common failure parts. It's the heart of the engine. The engine being defined as the printer engine or the copier engine. We always call those engines. It defines a technology set. And basically you put all the technology components that failed in a plastic surround, and you make it easier for the customer to replace it. So now you have one on your shelf, you pull it out, and a lot of copiers and printers are done this way today, as if you manage the fleet. But this was designed at Xerox. Push it in, machine works again. Component fails, you throw it away, you got one on the shelf, you push it in. Great, great technology, right? Fantastic. What else could it do? Well, we had another big issue in marketing and in accounting. We had to collect meter cards every month. We had to have the customer call in and say, how many prints did you make this month? I don't, okay. Issues, the customers hated it, we hated it. We still do this, by the way, in some machines. But we said, no, there's a different way. We came up with an idea. Instead of collecting revenue off of each meter click, in other words, each time a sheet of paper went through the machine, you collect a penny or 5 cents or half a cent, depending on the machine. We would charge the customer, say, $400 for the CRU. And it would be all in there. Everything. The service revenue would be in there. Okay? So as long as we sold this, we didn't have to collect meter cards anymore because we knew that this device failed after 30,000 copies or prints. Right? So how do you market it is the question. Now, if you're an accountant, it becomes very, very important. Because now, how do you recognize revenue? Can you recognize the revenue up front or not recognize the revenue up front? Because you've got to decide. So you have an accountant on your team who has to understand the technology, who has got to understand the limits of, well, it's going to fail and, I have a service person, I'm committed to service, so maybe I can't recognize the revenue because I have a cost component that's got to be matched with the revenue component. And if I haven't serviced the machine yet, maybe I haven't collected the revenue. I've collected the revenue but haven't serviced it, so maybe I have to put it up on the balance sheet or something. You have a finance person, as opposed to an accountant, let me distinguish between those, who says, am I making as much money? Are my gross margins just as good on this product? You have an engineer. You have a pricer like me who was keeping track of all these plans. Okay? So you have a multidisciplinary approach to these technology innovations. The iPhone, they just lowered the price by $100. Had nothing, I mean, everybody's probably, I don't have an iPhone, but, Apple came and said, okay, we're going to give you a $100 rebate. That was not an engineering decision on that new technology. Okay? That was a business decision. But the business people have got to understand the impact of technology, and that's why I speak to this. But above all else, it's innovate, innovate, innovate. So I've got to ask you what you're going to do. Well, I'm sure you're having a lot of speakers this year come through. And you have your own core set of beliefs and values, you know. And the core set of beliefs and values espoused at, you know, this great Christian college. You have to synthesize that. What are your 4 E's? They may be A's or B's or Z's. I don't know. You know. But instead of having them given to you when you walk in the door of a corporation, why not sit back and say, how would I like to live my life in the corporation? You need to become a global citizen. Okay? Doesn't mean you have to move to Venezuela and play baseball. Okay? But you need to understand the world. So, I don't know, are you reading the Globe and Mail from Toronto? The London Financial Times from London? You get a different perspective when you're in London, and I've lived there for a while, I have in the past, than you do when you read the U.S. papers, believe it or not. Okay, or you listen to Fox Channel. Okay? Do you watch the BBC or Bloomberg? You know, Bloomberg has a different, you know, slant on things. BBC has a different slant. Can you learn a different language other than English? I mean, me, I had a right brain, left brain thing. So when I was in Europe, I just concentrated on trying to learn English, the way the English spoke. But maybe you can learn Japanese. I don't know. Spanish. Maybe you can learn a rudimentary Chinese. Travel and understand custom and cultures. Okay? That's very, very important. I mean, when I went to Europe, I didn't really know there was a difference between the people in northern Belgium versus southern Belgium, and that there was a kind of a divide depending on which side of the river you lived on, and one looked down on the other. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I just saw something in the paper the other day saying, oh, we're not going to break Belgium into 2 countries. And I kind of discovered that when I was there. I said, oh, Belgium. Man. I managed people, about 24 marketeers in my group, had about a $2 billion business unit. Of course, there was marketing people in each of the countries. We're the headquarters staff. I had 1 American. So I had people from Turkey, Norway, you know, Sweden, every you know, Wales, as distinct from, you know, England, you know, from every country. You know, I managed people in Poland, etc. So you got to understand culture and customs. But you know, one thing I found worldwide, people want to work with people they like. Very important. And that doesn't mean that, you know, we're best buddies and we're going out and, you know, no. You want to work with people you like. That's very important. Okay? So cultivate those other employees, okay? And your management. Take a course in entrepreneurship. I don't know if you have one here, but you know, there are other courses. It'd be good to take a course here if you don't. Even if you're going into a Fortune 500, remember, you can be an entrepreneur in a big company. They asked me, Gil Hatch, who's now deceased, was the president of our division. He asked me at one time to take a job that says, you know, you have 0 revenue and you only have a couple employees. I know you're a vice president, but we want to try something different. And it was actually working out a contract with Fuji Photo Film and Kodak to try to get 300 more sales reps on board. Well, I had to start from 0. So I kind of was the entrepreneur in a big company. And you can actually do that type of job in a big company. Study innovation and how new ideas are commercialized. That happens to be one thing that I'm really interested in, as you know.